Kwasi here. In today's video, I'm going to share with you one of the most powerful principles through which the very fabric of reality is created. Now, this took me over 7 years to figure out and 3 years to fully make the decision to actually commit to it. But once I did, it allowed me to make my first million within 4 years of using it. This principle is called the mirror principle, a sacred law that every single ancient teaching that I've ever researched has mentioned in one way or another. I know for a fact that if you properly understand the nuances of this principle, it has the capability of making profound changes in your life. See, over the last decade, I've gone deep into the law of attraction world and grew continually frustrated with the myriad of new techniques. Now, my biggest goal when I started off was to manifest just one thing, my financial freedom. I wanted to quit the 9-to-5 and replace it with my own business. And I tried doing everything under the sun. I tried to become a trader. I tried to get into drop shipping. Like every aspiring 9-to-5 quitter, I thought maybe I'd sell merch, start up an Amazon FBA business. I looked into affiliate marketing. And when none of those worked, I tried to do the internal techniques like you do. From hypnosis, meditation, screaming affirmations until your throat gets sore, crystals, tarot cards. I even considered doing ayahuasca. What I realized was that my whole focus was on doing and taking action. I desperately wanted to leave the 9-to-5 and I would have done anything. But once I came across the mirror principle, everything changed forever. Because the mirror principle is not just a technique. See, what you probably aren't familiar with right now is that in life, there are techniques and then there are principles. I don't blame you because nobody ever really teaches you this. A technique stems from a core principle. For example, a lot of people are focused on running Facebook ads to get clients. Running Facebook ads is a technique, but ads don't really work if you don't understand the principles of marketing itself. Like ideal client avatar is, what their needs are, what their perceived solutions are, how to differentiate yourself from your competitors to become a better marketer. If you were to fully grasp the principles of marketing itself, then it doesn't matter if you run ads on Facebook or you run ads at all. You'd be able to find a different way to market that would be just as effective, if not more effective, because you understand the core principles of acquiring clients and marketing. In that sense, principles are much greater than techniques. So once you grasp the core principle from which a technique stems from, you attain true mastery over that technique. The mirror principle is an example of a core law via which our world operates. So this video is going to be very, very thorough. And it's going to show you how to reflect the external reality that you want by first presenting the correct internal image to the mirror world. But what you also need to understand is how to use the delay principle to ensure that your desired reality has had sufficient time to materialize, which is what most people fail to do. I'm super excited to share this with you because this was the very thing that allowed me to go from a 9-to-5 that I hated to making 7 figures in a business that I'm excited to show up to every single day. So without further delay, let's go right ahead and get started. Let's understand what the fundamental idea of the mirror principle is. The fundamental idea of the mirror principle is our outer world is a reflection, okay? What we're seeing outside, all the material, everything around us, our current circumstances, it is a reflection that is formed by an image, and that image is our internal world. So I want you to remember this very crucial point. The outer world is merely a reflection formed by the image of, which is essentially another way of saying our internal world, okay? Why I truly believe this is the most powerful principle is every single guru or person who talks about the law of attraction, like even Neville Goddard, he talks about how reality is a mirror. And what we try to do is we try to manipulate this mirror. If we want to change the reflection we're seeing in the mirror, what most people do is they take this mirror, try to shatter it and manipulate it to change the image, instead of changing the image that we're presenting in front of the mirror. Okay, this is very crucial. We must not try to directly impact the reflection we're seeing through manipulation. we have to learn to indirectly change the reflection by presenting a different image to it. It's kind of like when you try to influence someone and you directly tell them, hey, don't do this. All they're going to do is just that, right? Instead, if you motivate them and inspire them and give them a good enough reason not to do something, explain to them, this could be detrimental to you, this might not help you out, you can do it, you're completely free to do it, nothing is stopping you from doing it, but it's not ultimately best for you, then they're more likely to listen and be influenced. So we need to learn how to influence our world indirectly. And there is no better time than right now, in the 21st century, the year 2022, to be doing this as 2023 approaches. Why? If you look around you right now, everyone is progressively getting focused more and more on the outer world. We have lost all of this, the inner technology that we once had access to. Everyone's focusing on the outer world, social media, technology, growing through external technology. We have lost inner technology. So someone who can really turn within at this moment in time will have an unfair advantage to the rest of the world. Now is the perfect time for you to become the best you and learn how to influence your world indirectly through internal technology. So without further delay, let's go straight into the 4 laws that will allow you to learn to bend reality to your will and create exactly what you want. And then we're going to move to the 4 keys that'll help you unlock these laws. And finally, we're going to get to the case studies to show you real life situations of people actually applying this. Okay, so now let's get to the 4 laws, 4 keys, and the case studies to helping you completely understand how this mirror principle works. And please stay to the very end because I am saving the best for last in showing you how the mirror cycle works. That is going to change everything for you. So let's begin with law number 1. What you've got to understand is that the mirror of reality reflects 2 things: your relationship to yourself and to the world, or the mirror itself. The mirror of reality reflects relationship to self and world. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at yourself and you believe you are not good enough, then the mirror will simply reflect that. Oh, I'm not good enough. I can't do this because I'm not good enough. Oh, you're not good enough? Here you go, here's more proof of where you're not good enough. So the reflection keeps forming on whatever you're confirming, okay? You keep telling yourself you're not good enough for something, the mirror will show you, the world will show you more reasons why you're not good enough. It simply compounds what you say. Similarly, whatever your worldview is, how you view the world. Oh, now is not the right time to start a business. Now is not the right time to become an entrepreneur. Now is not the right time to invest my money in this. Oh, it's not? Here you go. Here's more instances of why you shouldn't. Oh, look, recession. Oh, look, interest rates are rising, right? So the mirror will always reflect whatever it is you're holding true in your mind, both about your self-view and your worldview, your identity and your paradigm. Please remember this, one of the most crucial laws. Now the question becomes, how can we change this? Okay, how can we interrupt this pattern and consciously choose what we want? You've got to form your own identity and paradigm. And by paradigm, I mean how you view the world. And don't worry, I'm going to give you an example. To give you an example, how you form your identity, first of all, is simply by getting clear on what you want longer term. 10 years from now, ultimately, in that final picture, what's one picture that you can craft, that you see yourself doing an activity every single day, things that you own, that make your life a continual vacation? Now ask yourself, who am I being? What characteristics, what traits do I have when I am achieving, having and doing all of those things? Very important. Next, what worldview do I have? What's my view of the world when I have all those? I just want you to take a moment right now to write those 2 things down. Form a self-view, how you view yourself. This could be a statement of, I am worthy, I'm good enough. Things come to me in abundance because I am this way, because I have this trait. Pick a couple of words to describe this trait. You could say, I have the touch of an alchemist. I have the touch of a maestro, whatever it could be. And I want you to read that every day. And also form a paradigm or a worldview, the way in which you view the world. The world is always taking care of me. Everything is always going my way. Everything is unfolding as it should. So form 2 statements. A statement about an identity, something that you want to embody every single day, and a statement about your worldview. As you keep saying this statement every single day and reminding yourself of it, prepare to see how your reflection, the reflection you're seeing, how your world begins to change right before your very eyes. This is something I've been doing for the past 4 years. And when I began, I was nervous about making YouTube videos. I couldn't imagine making this video right now. But here I am. My business depends on me making videos and talking to clients, but back then I was so shy and nervous, I didn't want to put myself out there, right? So I've become a completely different person. Even if you look back 3-4 years ago, what my first video looked like versus who I am and how I'm conducting myself now, it's a completely different me. And my worldview has allowed me to go from that place where I was stuck in that corporate career, believing that the job was the only way to go, there's no other way to make money and I'm trapped here forever, to believing that, wait a second, the world is completely abundant, things are coming to me in abundance. And that's exactly what's happening for me. Please do this exercise right now. It's going to completely change your life. Now let's get to key number 2. What you've got to understand is this reflection that we're seeing in our material world is formed with a delay. Why do I say that? Here's why. If you look around you right now, in our internal world, we can craft a picture immediately. Close our eyes and we look at the picture that we want to look at. That's how that dimension works. But this physical dimension, the third dimension, if you will, it works with a delay because of the inert quality of matter. Because of how gross matter is, it can't violate the laws of nature and just make everything manifest instantaneously. It takes a little bit of time. So this brings me to the next key, which is you must stay with the assumption that you've made for long enough until whatever you wanted manifests, okay? So what I mean by that is every identity and every paradigm that you have, stay with it for long enough until your goal shows itself. Who you pretend to be is who you become. If you're wanting to be a successful business owner, you begin with the identity of who would I be if I were a successful business owner? How would I act? Stay with it for long enough. An interesting phenomenon that occurs when people begin to experiment with this and kind of understand it is they start to see that their lives are going in waves. You begin with some assumption, you begin with some identity or paradigm, and you hope that your goal will manifest. But what starts to happen very quickly is it doesn't show up, reality takes some time to reflect it, it doesn't show up yet, and then your mood starts to deteriorate along with it. And so now, once your mood has gone to its lowest, all of a sudden your manifestation shows itself. But when it shows itself, now it starts to reflect your previous negative attitude with a delay. So now, whatever showed itself starts to deteriorate out back again because it's simply reflecting how you're feeling. In this way, there is a wave. There is this wave, this cycle that's happening in your life and you can't escape it. You have some highs and some lows and you can't be beyond it. So the key is you must always stay with the identity and the paradigm that you've created for yourself. And that's the best way you can make any sort of fundamental change happen in your life. Let's get to the next key, which I truly believe was one of the profound ones for me that I've been practicing every single day. Okay? What you have to understand is that the mirror of reality reflects not the nature of your thoughts, but the purified content of it. I'm going to explain what I mean in just a second. Think about it this way. If I keep expressing dissatisfaction, but there's a content to my dissatisfaction, I hate the dead-end job that I'm in. I hate my boss. I hate my spouse or partner. I hate the bills that I have. It doesn't reflect my hate. It just gives me the content of my hate. The mirror reflects the content of my hatred. I hate the bills. You'll get more bills. I hate my student loan. You'll get more student loan and more things happening that'll put you in debt. I hate my job. More things will come up in your job to literally piss you off. Okay? That's exactly how it happens. This is why the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer, because the poor keep complaining about what they don't have and what they don't want, and it keeps reflecting what they don't have and what they don't want. Gives them more reason to confirm their worldview and their identity, Whereas the rich, they're like, oh, I have this and I want this and I have this and I want this. So this is why the most successful people are always focused on what they want. Every single client that I've seen, they've become successful by focusing on what they have and what they want. Because when you do that, guess what? The mirror has no choice but to reflect more of what you have, more of what you want, and give it to you in abundance. So this is the fundamental difference between a scarcity and an abundance mindset. Simply looking at the glass as half full rather than half empty. So now the key to unlocking this law for yourself is simply to just focus on what is wanted and what you have. I want to share with you an example that is going to illuminate this for you a lot more. When I see a lot of people in corporate careers and they want to transition out because they feel burnt out in their jobs and they want to get into entrepreneurship, they have no clue what they want to do. They have a lack of clarity on their purpose. And what they do is they keep focusing on the lack of clarity. Oh, I don't know what I want to do. Oh, do I want to try this? Do I want to try that? And an example I like to give is if you were in the mailroom picking up a package and maybe you knew that the package was there, maybe you didn't know, maybe you're confused, whatever. So you kind of half-heartedly search for it. But then you get a notification on your phone that the package has definitely been delivered by Amazon. Now your search takes on a whole new level of conviction. Once you get to that level of conviction, that level of clarity on what you want with your life, then the search that you have, the search the corporate people have, then they're able to fully make that transition. The only way to get to that is to stop looking at what you're not clear about and stop looking at what you don't have and begin to look at what you do have and what you do want. If you're an entrepreneur and you're stuck at a certain business level and you look at your business, you're like, why am I not making this much money? You're looking at someone else who's making that much money, makes you compare yourself to them. Why am I not at 6 figures? Why am I not at 20K a month? Doing that makes the mirror reflect more and more of, oh, you're not at 20K a month? Here's more reason to stay stuck at 5K, 10K a month, or whatever it is you're doing in your business, right? So that's exactly how this mirror works. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it's easy for me to forget too, all of these things, but I need to remind myself that, hey, I'm focusing more on what I don't have and what I don't want, which will keep me stuck with what I don't have and what I don't want. In order to make any change happen, you've got to begin to shift your focus to what it is you do have in this very moment. All the clients that you have, all the progress that you've made, the beautiful family that you have, the things that you want in your life. So for the corporate people, and this is exactly what I did, I didn't know how I would get my financial freedom, right? The thing that would get me out of my corporate job. I simply looked at longer term. What is it that I want? What would make my life a vacation? Focusing on the identity and the paradigm that I need to have. What does that look like? What does it feel like? It can be a vague picture as long as you're focused on what you want. And when you do that, and when you keep focusing on what you want, the gap between your current life and your desired life, the gap starts to get filled up because you start to widen the limits of your comfort zone. For me, what happened was I had the idea to start making YouTube videos and I just followed it. Okay, this feels right, I'm gonna do it. Maybe somehow it'll lead me to that. Just keep making videos. I had no idea that I wanted to do coaching, right? For all I know, I thought I was gonna sell like notebooks and journals and planners or merch. I didn't know that coaching was it. But then one day, someone reached out to me for coaching and that completely changed my paradigm forever. But that only happened because I kept focusing on what I want and what I do have. Do you understand? This is very, very crucial. Okay? So that's key number 3. Now let's get to key number 4, last but not least, the mirror cycle. And this is gonna change everything forever because if you learn to manipulate this mirror cycle for yourself, you will no longer be so uncertain about what to do. You'll literally see reality changing right before your very eyes. Here I have this beautiful but empty diagram to demonstrate to you how this process of reality creation works. So for most people, what they're doing right now, okay, pay close attention to this. Where they begin is with an observation. They begin looking around them at the reflection that is already there. And this is ridiculous. Because please remember, the present is simply the delayed reflection of the past. So all of the delayed attitude that they had in the past, all of the complaints, all the shitty things that have happened in the past, all of the unconscious choices that were made, that's the present moment. So they look at present moment, bills, job I don't like, stuck at a revenue level, they observe it, and they use that to form their image or their attitude. So I'm gonna write image here, And by image, you know I mean the internal attitude, the thoughts and feelings that we present to the mirror. When they form the image, the mirror has no choice but to reflect it. And so it reflects and forms reality accordingly with the image reflection. And then they observe the reflection again, and then they keep staying stuck with this. So this is the vicious feedback loop most people are in. They look around them, they're like, oh, bills. Oh, job I don't like. This sucks. I hate this. I hate this job. I hate the bills. I hate all of it. I hate staying stuck here. I've been stuck here forever. Oh, you've been stuck here with this revenue level? You've been stuck here at this job? Here you go. Here's more stuckness. Here's more bills. Here's more of this current revenue level that you're at. Damn it, it keeps happening again and again. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And then you try the different tactics and strategies. You try the business strategies. You try starting up a new drop shipping business, a new funnel, or a new ad strategy, and nothing works, right? Like it clicks for a little bit, it gets you all excited, but then you fall back into this pattern because you can't make an internal change. There is no foundational change happening for you in terms of your worldview and your identity. So the way to do this is to reverse this process. For most people, they begin here. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. This is the cycle for the puppets. If you want to become a reality creator, this is how you reverse this cycle. And this is what I had to do. We begin here with the image that we'd like to form. We turn away from the reflections. We turn away from looking at our current reality because we begin to realize what's around us right now was merely formed from decisions made in the past. You have to realize this, or else nothing will change. If I want to form tomorrow, I choose today consciously. So we begin here with the image. And when we choose the image and we say, hey, this is what I want and this is what I have, the mirror has no choice but to begin reflecting it in little amounts. Little by little. Little changes will happen slowly with a delay. And then what we do now instead of observing is we confirm. We peek. We simply peek into the mirror to look at, hey, what's working? Oh, this is working. Oh, look, that has happened. Oh, look, I wanted to be a confident person here. Look, people are receiving me much better. Oh, look, I wanted to improve this aspect of my business. It's improving. I wanted to improve this aspect of my golf game. It's improving. Your whole world could be breaking apart, but you only focus on the things that you'd like to confirm. The things that correspond with this worldview and identity that you've chosen to craft. And then you keep using that. And I swear, the more you keep doing this, it snowballs into something that is going to be beyond anything you've imagined. Like when I started off, I didn't want a 7-figure business. I didn't want any of this. I just wanted it to have freedom from my 9 to 5. And all I needed to do was earn $5K a month to be able to replace what I was getting paid in that dead-end engineering career. That's what I wanted. But now we're doing 6-figure months, which was completely blew my mind how all of this stuff works. So if you begin to use these principles, your life will completely change. I can promise you that. Okay, so now I want to share with you 3 case studies of clients of ours who have used these 4 laws of the mirror to completely and drastically change their lives. Let's begin with our client Tia. When Tia joined us, she was in 6-figure student loan debt, and she was working 2 full-time jobs, 80 hours a week, and in one of them, she couldn't even stand up to her boss because she was doing something she didn't like to do. So she was mainly struggling with a lack of confidence in herself and lack of clarity on how she would get out of it and how she would create what she wanted for herself. And she has kids, she has a husband, and she couldn't spend any time with her family. After we helped her operate through these 4 principles and shift her identity, get clear on what she wanted and only focus on that. Remember, law number 1 of the mirror laws. She now makes $40K a month with her own business 2 years later. And she gets to spend more time with her family, more time with her children. And she's very passionate and very happy about what she's doing instead of stuck in 2 dead-end jobs and feeling burned out. Take our client Louise, who has her own marketing business. And during the pandemic, her old job was deemed completely irrelevant and it was wiped out. So she transitioned out and tried to start and grow her business, but she couldn't make it past the 6-figure mark. She was stuck around 10K a month. And what she was lacking was clarity and, as a result, confidence. She couldn't present her services with certainty. She didn't know where to get clients, and she didn't know who she really wanted to work with. After working together, after implementing the mirror principle, she now makes 30K a month doing what she wanted. And by the way, principle number 2 was very important to her because she was about to give up and she was completely done with it. And all of a sudden, just when she was giving up, boom, everything started to fall right into place because she eliminated all of the importance and all of the meaning that she had to whatever she wanted to do. Number 3, take our client Bastian. Bastian was an agency owner with his own digital marketing agency, and he was doing around 20K a month when he joined us. His biggest problem was the niche that he was working in. He was completely not passionate about it. He hated it, and he was just unclear about the direction he wanted to go in. And he also had a big case of self-doubt. When he presented his service and his offer, he wasn't confident in himself, in whether or not he would be able to get the result for his client because he wasn't confident and he wasn't clear around what he wanted for his life. After we helped him fix that, implement the mirror principles, he's doing over $500,000 a month now. He's completely changed as a person. And this mirror principle, learning how to observe and confirm the cycle, was super important to him. The concept of state control, and single-handedly the most powerful thing I had to learn. And why this was so important for me is because, as you know, in this journey, if you know how to nurture your own internal state of being, your external state will follow. Whatever you see outside will eventually follow. Okay, so most people really get hung up with this because there's a little subtle detail that's missing that just doesn't bridge the gap and it doesn't make sense. So that's why it's so easy to get frustrated when things aren't really working out in your favor. Okay, I personally was a slave to my external state and waiting for the results and being results oriented. But the key shift I needed to make was going from results orientation to becoming more process oriented. Because at the end of the day, it's what you do and how you show up that really determines the fate and the direction and the lifeline and the trajectory really that you follow. Okay, so what I want to begin with is that when you make an intention, okay, let's say you make a new intention to move to a newer height and to a newer direction in your life. You've been stuck in a rut and you make an intention, or you really just make an intention to manifest more money or have more business success, right? Whenever you do make this intention, life will always throw you a test, okay? Please remember this. Whenever you make an intention, life throws a test. Why does this do this? Why does life always throw a test whenever you make a new intention? Well, life doesn't intentionally do this, okay? This is just a process whereby it happens, but how it can be interpreted as is basically understanding that it's trying to test your new beliefs and convictions, okay? How powerful are you within to be able to sustain these tests and still come out on top of it? There's a reason why everyone doesn't become successful and everyone doesn't have $1 million and, get whatever they want. It's because they fail these tests. Whenever these tests come up, what most people do is they start to get frustrated and their internal state of being gets affected. So most fail because their internal state gets destroyed. What do I mean by that? So whenever you make a new intention, let's say you want to hit 10K months in your business, right? You have a business and you've been at the 5K months, you've been doing well up until this point and you've really made it up to the 5K months, but now you want to hit those 10K months. What's happening is now life will start to test your conviction to see if you're really worthy of the 10K months. Are you really being that 10K month version of yourself? Okay, because you start to be that 10K month version first, and then reality reflects this. Okay, you become the 10K month version, then reality will start to reflect this. But before you get to that, reality will start to test you a little bit and throw you all of these challenges and tricky clients to work with, or, maybe even the next month you make a little bit less. So this is exactly what happened for me, right? When I wanted to go to those 100K months in my business, even when I wanted to go to the 20K months and quit my corporate career. So there were 2 phases of this for me. When I first, left my corporate career and decided I want to double down and go full-fledged into entrepreneurship and this coaching business, what happened at first was the whole month of May, when I graduated college and I started up this business, I was just doing, taking massive action, but none of it really yielded any effort. I saw that I was just hitting this plateau. the more action I took, the more diminishing returns I saw. So it wasn't a problem of taking action, but the place this action was come from. It was coming from a place of frustration, a place of neediness, and I really needed this result right now. And if I didn't get this result, oh shit, I couldn't prove myself to my parents, etc. and etc. So I really had to coordinate through that, maintain my internal state through that, and really have that faith to move forward and come from that right place and have these actions, the outreach activities, the talking to prospective clients, the making the YouTube videos come from the right place of being. As a result of that, in August, I hit my first 20K month. So from May to August was that transition period for me where I went up and passed that test. But then from August, I made the intention to go to 100K months. Next month in September, I hit around 60K. And then October was 80K. Right? But then after I hit the 80K, I was getting cocky. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to happen. But then life threw that test to me to see if I would sustain. And the month of November, I think was a 50K month for me. So I went from 80K back down to 50K. So if you were a business owner, the way you look at it is, oh shit, well, it's not that I made 50K, but it's like I lost 30K. I was doing 80K months, but now I lost the 30K and I'm back down to 50K. What if the next month this happens and that happens? So naturally, those thoughts start to come up in your mind because you're still in that place of scarcity. Unless and until you get fully okay with failing, you won't really pass this test. Okay, so I'm going to get down a little bit deeper into that, but this is very, very crucial for you to understand. So I went down to 50K, but because I coordinated correctly, December was again, I think 95K, 90 to 95K in revenue. January, I hit my first 100K cash month. Okay, so that was the test I had to go through to hit my first 100K month in my business. So this is what you've got to understand. There's subtle dynamics. Okay, you've got to, despite all of these tests that come your way, it's just life testing you and seeing, do you really want this? Do you really want this? Are you really going to sustain all of these tests and challenges to get this? Are you going to do what it takes? Are you really the right person for this? And this is how life tests you. Okay, so we're going to get down a little bit more into that, but to understand this whole general frame and why this happens, we got to get into the mirror model of reality, which generally is the concept that this reflection, okay, you form the image with the thoughts, the attitudes, the internal state that you have. You form an image to the mirror of reality. Reality acts like a mirror and it reflects your own internal attitudes with a delay. Okay, so there is always a delay time before the image that you presented to this mirror materializes into physical reality. This is absolutely crucial. I want you to remember this for the next part, okay? So now let's really get down into this and understand the dynamics behind why reality works the way it does so that you can start to use it and push it the right way to benefit you and help you move forward. Okay, so the first thing you've got to understand is the cycle that this mirror follows. Okay, so we talked about forming an image and forming the reflection. So the image is the internal world that you have, the internal state of being that you have. And the reflection is what you're seeing outside, that material result. So most of the time, people keep drumming up on the complaining, on the poverty, and why they don't have money and why they're so broke or why nothing's going their way. So reality starts to reflect this with a delay. This is why, because of the inert quality of material reality, because it's so, matter is so dense, it takes a little bit of time for it to materialize, unless you have the intention energy of a Messiah. But it will generally take a little bit of time to materialize, and it always compounds on itself. The results I'm seeing today is all a result of the compound effect from the past, of all the work that I've done. From that first YouTube video that I made in January 1st, 2019 or 2018 to up until to this day. This is the result that I'm reaping, having 100K months in my business, having a revolutionary business, helping people transform their lives, doing something meaningful and worthwhile. So really what you want to understand is all of this will take a little bit of time for it to build up on itself. But what happens is we start to get into frustration. Our attitudes start to change, and 1 minute we feel good, and next minute when we see a terrible reflection, we're like, oh shit, it's not working. So this is the biggest problem. When you understand that all of this happens with a delay, your frustrations soothe out, right? So now you no longer become so reactive, but you can stay proactive and stay grounded in the original thought and attitude you had. Okay, so to really understand this, understand that there is always an image that we present with the thoughts and attitudes we present to this mirror of reality. Okay, so the image is the attitudes that you have. And reality will always reflect the attitude that you have. You can control reality just by changing your relationship to your reality. Seriously. If you change your own attitude and you start to become more and more grateful and 51% or more of your thoughts are positive, then you're going to shift into a positive lifeline. Okay? So I want you to remember that. And when you present this image, what happens is the mirror of reality will start to form this reflection. It begins the process of forming the reflection. Okay? Process begins. If you keep this attitude up for long enough, the key is to keep it up for long enough, then this result finally materializes fully. When I keep the attitude of I'm worthy of the 100K months, I'm worthy of the business that I want and making the impact that I want, it is happening, it is going to happen, more so that than oh shit, why is this going wrong and why is that going wrong? So this phase is important because when life starts to make this reflection, starts to create it, this is when the testing period comes. Okay? Why this testing period comes is not because life wants to fuck you over, but more so life wants to sort of take the path of least resistance. Okay? So this is path of least resistance. And you've got to remember this. Life takes the path of least resistance because it doesn't want to disturb its own balance. Sometimes taking the path of least resistance means, having this temporary spanner thrown in the works. Meaning, you go from 80K to 50K before you can come up to 100K. Do you see what I mean? So this is how life sort of takes that path of least resistance to begin forming this reflection. Very, very crucial. Must remember this. Okay, so this is the second part of it, where life starts to create that reflection in this mirror. Once you keep that attitude up for long enough, eventually the result forms and you start to see what you want in reality. Okay? So even when life is forming this reflection, you see a little bit of the results. But what happens is we start to catch the negative results more than the positive ones. Right? So what happens is here, we sort of start to perceive this result in a negative light. So let's say you make the intention to go to 10K months in your business and you're currently doing 5K months, right? So next month you do 7K, but then you go back down to 4K. You're like, oh shit, it's not working. So now your attitude is changing, right? The image that you're presenting to it, you're looking at this result and you're using the result to form the image. Okay, you're using the reflection to recraft the image. The biggest mistake most people make is they use the negative unintended outcome to distort the image rather than embellish it with the positive outcomes that they're seeing. This is absolutely crucial to understand. This is perhaps one of the biggest keys, right? Don't use the result to distort the image that you're wanting to create, but rather only to embellish it. Okay? I'm going to get down deep into what that means in a second. But understand that before the reflection goes to the result, there is a delay time, which we will call delta T. Okay? So here there's a delta T before the result fully shows up in reality. Now, how can we make sense of this delta T? And essentially, this is how. If we had a graph of your image, reflection, and sort of the time that it takes for a result to materialize, how I would describe it is you sort of have a sinusoidal, right? So let's say at first you begin with forming your attitude, okay? Your priority is to form the correct attitudes. So you begin at this level, right? You start off with great attitude and eventually your attitude starts to fade because you don't see the results. And then you go to the lowest point, but then at this point the result comes. So in terms of the image and reflection, how that would look like is basically this. This would be the first graph, which would complete itself like this. I'm going to draw it first and explain it. It'll be much better. So there's that. And the second graph is showing the reflection that you're seeing. Okay? So this is the blue graph that we have. It's completely flipped. Right? So to understand this, it's sort of like you begin with great attitude. At this point, at t equals 0, you have great attitude. You want to manifest what you want. This is t0. You begin with great attitude, but when you start off, reality doesn't reflect it because now you're just beginning this process. So now what's happening is more and more as time progresses, you keep up the great attitude. You're like, yes, I'm going to do the 10K months. Oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But you just can't keep it up at the original intensity because you're not seeing the physical equivalent of it. We've been so accustomed to seeing the physical result that without it, we're just like, oh shit, nothing's happening. Right? So now your state of being starts to go down. And when you hit your lowest point, that's when the result shows up. So the reflection, this is the result point, right? This is when the cooking, the reflection is done. So this is the T critical. T critical is the point where it shows up. But the difference between T0 to T critical is the delta T. So please make sure you understand this and even rewatch this. So this is delta T, if that doesn't look right. There you go. So that's delta T, meaning the difference, the time it takes for the reflection to fully complete itself. So now the problem is, you've come up and your state of being has gone so down low that now the 10K month shows up. Just when you're about to give up, right? Just when you're like, oh shit, none of this works. It's not really working. I don't know what to do. Just when you're about to give up, that's when this result shows up. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've seen this happen to me, where just when I was about to give up and let go of this completely, the result shows itself. Just when I'm about to throw away the good attitudes and everything, the result shows itself. And when the result shows itself, what happens now is your state of being starts to get higher and higher, right? You're like, yes, great, it's working, awesome. And now the opposite happens. Now the mirror starts to reflect your negative state of being with a delay. This is crazy. This is why people keep going up and down and riding the highs and lows in the roller coaster of their lives. They have no consistency in their state of being. The best thing to do is just maintain that same consistency because the result will show up anyway, right? And now you are no longer subject to the highs and lows of life, but you can just experience a neutral high and just keep moving on up and up and up, okay? So this is what happens. Whenever you get down to this level, you see the result at T critical, but now at T critical, your attitude was at its lowest. And now reality starts to reflect this low attitude with a delay. So when you get to another T critical equivalent, so another delta T equivalent, what happens is you start to see something bad happen, like, oh, none of this is working. Maybe you go back to another 4K month. So this is why people have inconsistent revenues in their businesses as well, because of their lack of consistency internally. I can't tell you how many business owners I've seen do 80K months in their business just to go bankrupt the next month, right? All of this happens because of this inconsistency in your internal state of being, right? So I really want you to just recap this video right now and look at this graph so you fully understand it and you understand why this delay time and this cycle is happening the way that it is. So now I want to conclude this video with basically the keys you need to take away from this so you can begin to apply this in your own life. Okay, so the number one key is to know that use the result to embellish the image you're forming rather than distort it. Okay, so remember how we had that cycle of where the result feeds back into the image? Use result to embellish, not distort. Key. So what do I mean by this? Well, essentially, whenever we see, because there's always going to be that test that comes up in the path of least resistance life takes. Whenever you see something good, you use that to make your attitude stronger. Whenever you see something bad, you just ignore it. You just understand and learn to see that, oh, life is just taking the path of least resistance. It's going to come my way. Because whenever you see that test and that challenge and you start to get fazed by it, and your internal state of being starts to get fazed by it, you're fucked. You're in trouble now. Because now that ups and downs is going to happen again. So understand key number one. Absolutely crucial. Key number two is understanding that you've got to become acutely aware of internal state at all times. Okay? So IS stands for internal state. Become acutely aware of your internal state at all times and learn to want something without needing it. Right? Want without needing. So what does that mean? Well, most people, they want the goal and they really need it. They're like, oh shit, I really want this, I need this. If this doesn't happen, something bad's gonna happen. And whenever you get into that state, life will always show you its true nature, which is the state of impermanence. Nothing is ever too important. Things can be important, but never too important. When there's a distortion of the meaning that you attribute towards something, life will start to destroy this. Life will actively work on destroying this disproportionate amount of meaning you've put onto something. Okay, that's number 2. All right, so the final key you need to understand, key number 3, is actually tied into key number 2, and alleviating key number 2 is understanding that you've got to get into full acceptance of what is. Okay, you've got to get into full acceptance of the failure scenario. If you look like you're about to fail, just let it be. Don't fight or don't resist it, because you're resisting this path of least resistance right now. So whatever it is, accept failure scenario. Okay, what does this mean? Well, to be honest, in getting into full acceptance mode of this failure scenario, you're actually moving towards success. Okay, people think that, oh, if I accept the failure, then the failure is going to come. That's again a resistance, unless and until you can fully let go of that neediness. The only way to let go of that neediness is to just get into acceptance of what is and what is impending. Okay, like I said, if I didn't get into full acceptance that, oh, you know what, next month I could, when I hit that 50K month and I was wanting to go to the 100K months, if I didn't get into full acceptance of, you know what, next month I could even go down lower and I could even hit a 20K month and go back down to that. Would that be so bad? What's the worst that can happen then? And to be honest, nothing. It's just me and my own expectations and my own standards that get in my way. Right? Because if I start to resist and fight against myself, I don't become objective. Now, the opportunities that will lead me to the 100K months, it's not visible to me because I'm looking to avoid not hitting the 100K months. Do you see the subtlety? Instead of wanting to hit the 100K months and accepting everything on the path to it, I'm resisting the 100K months by saying, oh no, I don't want to not hit the 100K months. So that's what you move towards. Life doesn't care. The mirror of reality doesn't care about the nature of the intention, but rather the content of it. If you say, I don't want to not hit the 100K months, that's what it will reflect, not hit the 100K months, instead of do hit the 100K months. So now that you have an understanding of the mirror principle, I have something that you're going to love. For the first time ever, we're opening the doors to our Reality Creator Academy to the public. Now, I made a short training video going deeper on the mirror principle where I talk about 2 additional principles that you must understand to become a powerful creator of your reality. The principle of identity shifting and mastermind principle. So if you want access and you want to learn more about a Reality Creator Academy, what I want you to do is click on the link in the pinned comments to access it, or click right here. There's going to be a link right here. It's going to outline everything for you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next page right now. Thanks.